It is inevitable. Gary Neville explains why Manchester United will start to win again. Man United are facing the prospect of their worst season in recent memory after an 18th defeat of the campaign at Crystal Palace. Gary Neville is convinced Manchester United will get it right, despite the prospect of their worst league season in 34 years. United have lost a Premier League era record 13 games this term and are 8th in the table, having gone out of Europe altogether before Christmas. A second successive All-Manchester FA Cup final on May 25 offers the chance to salvage silverware from the campaign in what could be embattled manager Erik ten Hag's last game in charge. United have only won 4 trophies since their last championship in 2013, but Neville optimistically suggested an FA Cup triumph could signal a similar turning point to when United lifted it in 1990. That marked Sir Alex Ferguson's first trophy with the club in a season United ended in 13th and was the trigger for their eventual dominance of English football. As sure as the sun will rise, Manchester United will start to win again, Neville said. It's a fact. When that is, I don't know. It can be no guarantee, but I know that these things go in cycles. I lived my whole childhood watching Liverpool, Everton, and Arsenal win trophies, win the old Division 1, and was patient. I had to wait until I was 18, 19 when Manchester United first won a league title in my life, and then we won a load of league titles, and now we've not won one for 11 years. I know full well that in my lifetime, hopefully, Manchester United will win trophies, but they will win trophies again. We will get it right, just as Liverpool will, just as Arsenal will. You can't keep these great clubs down. I'm sorry, they are too big, they are too established, they've got a great history, they go through lean periods. Look, I hope in 3-4 weeks that this FA Cup final against Manchester City, which is such a tough game, we know how good City are, but if they can just defy the odds, who knows where that might lead to. You know, in 1989-90 Sir Alex Ferguson won an FA Cup that put belief into him, into a group of players. They then went on to win a Cup Winners' Cup, then went on to win the League Cup, then went on to eventually win a league title. It was building block by block, step by step, and that could be just around the corner. Or it could be a few years away. But they will win again, Manchester United. It's inevitable. He was awful. Gary Neville names 7 Man United players who had same problem as Jadon Sancho. Latest Manchester United news and gossip as Gary Neville explains a theory behind Jadon Sancho's newfound form since returning to Borussia Dortmund. Gary Neville has named 7 past and present Manchester United players who endured similar struggles to Jadon Sancho. Sancho made just 3 appearances for United this season before being sent on loan to Borussia Dortmund in the new year. The 24-year-old recently helped the club beat Paris Saint-Germain to reach the Champions League final and has been a key player for Dortmund since his return in the January transfer window. Since his return to Dortmund, Sancho has scored 3 goals with 2 assists in 18 appearances. There have been rumors in recent weeks that the German club may look to sign Sancho on a permanent basis, 3 years after he joined United in a £73 million deal. Neville was speaking alongside Ian Wright, Jill Scott, and Roy Keane on the latest Stick to Football podcast from Sky Bet. Neville was speaking about Sancho's newfound form since returning to Dortmund, and named other players who endured difficulties after being signed by United in the last decade. Jadon Sancho, he was awful at United, let's be clear. His performance levels, his confidence, his belief, said Neville. He goes to a different team and all of a sudden you see a player that makes you think, how has that happened? Why is it happening time and time again, that players with great reputations come into Old Trafford and they just don't work? Over the last 10 years, I think there's only one player that Manchester United have signed and has lived up to expectations or achieved what he has done previously, and that's Bruno Fernandes. I can't think of any other signing that you would think has gone on to excel at the club. Luke Shaw, when he's been fit, but he's had injuries, has played at a high level and grown from where he was at Southampton. You could maybe argue that, but all of the other big signings, Angel, Di Maria, Bastian, Schweinsteiger, Radamel, Falcao, Paul, Pogba, Harry, Maguire, Mason, Mount this season, Raphael, Varane, every player. Keane then stepped in and argued why Sancho may be rediscovering his form since returning to Dortmund. The former United captain believes that Sancho's familiarity with his surroundings from his previous time with the Bundesliga club may be a factor. "Every case is different. I saw Sancho against Atletico Madrid and he wasn't that great, but he does look a bit sharper in the last few games I've seen," said Keane. "I think that can happen to a player. He can go to a club and have a bit of a fallout with a manager. I also think playing for Manchester United and Dortmund is different. The Champions League is a big competition. He's been in Germany before and maybe he's just more comfortable in those surroundings." Neville mentioned desire and confidence. Sancho obviously got that now. "I don't care." Roy Keane shares worrying Casemiro theory as Man United transfer talks are held. Casemiro has been criticised for his display in Man United's 4-0 thrashing at Crystal Palace earlier this week. Roy Keane has sprung to Casemiro's defence after his poor performance in Manchester United's 4-0 Premier League defeat to Crystal Palace on Monday. The 32-year-old was tasked with playing in an unusual position at centre-half earlier this week and endured a difficult evening at Selhurst Park. The midfielder made a series of mistakes contributing to United's poor display as Palace ran out 4-0 winners. For Michael Olaï's first goal, the Brazilian dived into a challenge in the middle of the park before carelessly giving the ball away for the fourth Palace goal. Casemiro has come under the spotlight in the aftermath of the defeat. Jamie Carragher's rant on Sky Sports after the game saw him claim the midfielder's days at the top of football were numbered and suggest a move to Saudi Arabia. According to reports, Cristiano Ronaldo's Al Nassr have accelerated their interest in the five-time Champions League winner. It's reported they have held discussions with Casemiro's representatives about a potential move to the Middle East. Speaking on Stick to Football, brought to you by Sky Bet, Keane defended Casemiro and pointed towards his teammates to provide support to him as he worryingly hinted United's problems are bigger than just one player. "He's the last player you would have played centre-half at Palace, on his defence," he said. "Some people have all the experience, but don't show it at certain times. But if you're looking at the whole Man United squad, one player I wouldn't play centre-half against Palace, who at home has something going. He is not playing centre-half. I don't care. When you get to 30 seconds, every time you have a bad game, I had people saying I was finished at that level, but players can get through it, if they are playing in their bloody best position. I looked at Casemiro the other night. He was having a bad time, but the other players, is not getting any help. If your legs are going a little bit, you get players around you. That's where he should have done better with his experience. Defensively, he got no help whatsoever." Keane pointed towards the Brazilian's failure to continue his fine start to life in England after a successive first season at the club, declaring his theory behind his dip in form. "Something happened this summer. Certain players go away and have a really good summer, and some come back. It's almost like he's not recovered from it last season. He can't get going," Keane added. Lisandro Martinez sends Manchester United message after making injury return. Latest Man United news and gossip as Lisandro Martinez sends a message on Instagram after making his return from injury to feature in training. Lisandro Martinez has posted a message on social media after his long-awaited return to training for Manchester United. Martinez has been sidelined with a calf injury he suffered in the 1-1 draw with Brentford on March 30th. That game was the defender's first appearance in nearly 2 months after recovering from a knee injury. The Argentina international has struggled with injuries in his second season with United, missing 36 games in total. Martinez has made just 11 appearances for the Reds this term, including